Hello, and welcome to GatherVerse News Unscripted, where we bring you humanity centered tech journalism. I'm Lisa Bernard. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, as we do every Wednesday, we'll bring you our Pioneer Profile. That's where we take an in depth look at someone who's working in Web3, but who is also considering the impact that emerging tech has on humans and on society. Today, we'll introduce you to Laura Brown, who will talk to us about training and teaching. Laura uses XR to create first person perspective experiences, and she helps use that with police officers and individuals who find themselves in mental health crisis response situations. But first, we will go back to the AWE playground where I got to try some new tech demos that I'd never seen before. I used a VR backpack, something I certainly had never seen before. Inside it are batteries and a computer and hardware that go along with the VR headset. And in this case, I was supposed to feel water from a tap on my hands and steam coming from a kettle. I'm not exactly sure I did feel those sensations, but I know that this new tech is a priority for many creators, and the innovations are coming quickly. In the playground at AWE 2023, there were hundreds of exhibitors, and according to organizers, all experiences were either a premiere launch or an exclusive creation for the conference. I tried a few of the XR experiences.
So you can turn on the burner. One that's highlighted.
The Lowe's Innovation Lab brought its holo room to the expo hall. The experience is designed to help customers visualize a home improvement project, choosing appliances and room layout before doing so in real life. I put on a vest, gloves, a helmet, and glasses. When I was completely locked in, I entered a kitchen and felt transported to another place. I could use the appliances and actually touch and interact with the objects inside the virtual kitchen. I think it was the total immersion. The headset and the visual, you just completely feel in another world. Sightful offers a laptop glasses combination. I saw several windows open at the same time. When I saw Apple's Vision Pro this week, I in part thought of this demo. I put on another set of glasses from Xreal, and I could see music videos with colorful images as well as the room around us. Another haptics offering included a vest and headset providing sensations to my torso. Users feel a jolt when hit in the chest with a bullet in shooting games. And when I selected a music experience, the vibrations gave me a jubilant sensation while Pharrell's song Happy played. And happy is always a good thing. Thank you to our associate producers, Jordan Klein, Juliana Salamone, and Teresa Fitzgibbon for their help with that piece. And now on to our pioneer profile. Laura Brown is an educator who uses VR to help with public safety. She does this both by personalizing learning for individuals, and she uses it for training police officers in mental health crisis response situations. Here is Laura Brown. We are speaking with Laura Brown for GatherVerse News. Laura is a researcher and educator who works to keep communities safe in real life, taking into account the impact emerging technologies and virtual reality have on us. Laura, thank you for being here. EdTech has so much potential to do good things. What are some of the most revolutionary use cases for education in AR, VR, AI?
Yeah, I mean, we've been using mobile devices for years now, and I think without even thinking about it, we've given everyone in our society the opportunity to look up anything that they need to know, almost in a moment's notice. So if you think about the way that's just changed our communication, our relationships to one another, our relationships with ourselves, that kind of, for me, sets the baseline of where we're building from when we talk about educational technology. I wouldn't call it a dependence on technology, but I would say that our application of technology is much more broad than we had it even 10, 15 years ago. And it's moving at such an incredible pace that we're sometimes not really thinking about what are we trying to get out of the technology. For those of us who work in design and application of these technologies, including virtual reality or augmented reality using mobile devices or physical headsets that we're putting on our face, we want to be really mindful of what are we trying to learn, what are the experiences that we want to have, how do we want to feel, and how do we want to relate to our community and our environment. So that, for me, just to give you kind of that baseline of what's exciting, the potential is truly limitless in terms of what we could potentially imagine. Some of the more exciting ones I've seen, and I'm based out of California, I think I was just talking about the Pokemon Go trend in 2015. Was it an educational technology? Yes and no. I mean, it wasn't something that we built for classrooms, right? It's something that we just had in our communities. We see kids coming outside and interacting more. Wherever those little Pokemon training camps were, we were seeing kids come and meet each other and have community-based conversations with one another. So that's an educational experience, and as much as I call it an edutainment experience, where it's both fun and that we're learning something new.
How about in the classroom, and how are teachers able to use it and yet keep it safe?
So way back in maybe 2016 now, if we think about the Google Cardboard, back when that first came out, which was a little cardboard box that had 2 lenses in it. And that allowed us to put our phones in there and create these 3D kind of exploratory experiences for kids. And we brought them into jungles, and we brought them into deserts and all sorts of different environments that they could explore in a way that they'd never really thought about picturing themselves inside those environments.
And you use it in training. What are those like?
I specifically focus on mental health crisis response in my own career, and I've done previous work across multiple companies, so focusing on the way that we think about how do we relate to individuals who we would otherwise consider to be the least relatable in our society. So folks who are living with severe mental health conditions, maybe they're incarcerated, maybe they're institutionalized in a facility, kind of seeing the unseen again.
Kyle, my name is Officer Morgan, okay? This is my partner, Officer Diaz.
That's what I've used VR for, is to create first-person perspective experiences, either from a police officer's point of view or from an individual's point of view, to help us better understand what a crisis actually is. Because a crisis, a lot of the time, is a misalignment of expectations, behavior, emotions, feelings, perceptions. And when we think about VR as being kind of a perception engine or imagination engine, when we're working with individuals living with things like psychosis, autism, and other experiences, this actually gives us the opportunity to bring other people's perspectives to life for ourselves. And I think that it really changes the way that we relate to one another.
How do we as a society address digital literacy and ensuring that everyone can have access?
Yeah, that's a really big one, especially when we talk about developing nations. We've talked about the digital divide in past years, which is access and opportunities for success using tech. So getting your hands on technology is one thing. Having the education to use it effectively, having a safe community where you're not going to be exacerbating any additional risks that currently exist in the environment is really important. But when we talk about closing the digital divide, I think we need to talk about whose responsibility that is. And it's a multifaceted one. If we talk about a community and raising a child or taking care of the individual members of our communities, that's the companies that are designing and developing these products. Those are the schools, educators who are putting them into practice. It's the parents, it's the children themselves. If we're talking about youth, everybody has sort of their own perspective on this whole thing and how we leverage tech. And I think we really need to be mindful that there's really clear lines of communication throughout implementation.
Do you think there is enough? Are there enough regulations, enough laws, enough companies being sensitive to this?
Well, it depends on what we're trying to prevent. So I kind of take a crisis prevention approach, which is to make sure that let's first understand the laws and regulations and standards that we have today, because we do have in the United States some pretty decent ones when we talk about FERPA and HIPAA and data protection, privacy, rights, consent, all of those types of things. I think just starting with those is a really great place. And if we needed to change policy, we should be thinking of policy as another tool or technology, kind of like a social technology for us to bring whatever change we're looking to bring to a community. So it depends. If we're bringing something formally into a school district, as an example, the community needs to be apprised of that. If we're bringing new technology into a public safety application or behavioral health application, again, the community should be very well apprised before that technology is put into play.
Which is education.
Which is itself education, yeah. So drawing analogies to what exists today, helping the community really understand if we're trying to solve a problem, if we're trying to provide an opportunity, what is the desired outcome? What are we trying to accomplish and achieve when we put technologies into practice? And how do we protect people's privacy and data? What's the data retention policy? How are we using that data? What are we hoping to see from the use of that data? And who owns it? Is all important things for us to know and understand.
Absolutely. There's so much work to be done.
Sure. I think, in terms of just being an educator, and I'm coming from, my background is working with at-risk populations, low-income populations, under-resourced populations. So if we look at technology as a resource, what I really value as an educator that leverages technology is the scalability, the quality of the education, and then the personalization for the learner. So I can meet an individual student's need much better depending on how I apply technology or design an experience, and I can scale it to more students who may be having those needs unmet in other areas. So if we talk about specific kids in urban populations as an example, if I was able to develop a community safety application for tech, like virtual reality or an augmented reality experience where I could bring kids into safe spaces, I could be using municipal data to do that. I could find areas of low crime rates, I can find areas of high crime and figure out how to kind of keep and track kids away from that. All above board, all transparent in doing so, I think is really important. We don't want to engage in any kind of manipulation of folks, but I think if we can have those conversations as a community, there's a ton of incredible things that we could do with this type of tech. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. Our thanks to Alan Filippi with ADF Video Bay Area, who helped us edit that piece. Thank you, Alan. Please join me tomorrow when we'll have Lisa Smuz on the show. She is the CEO of the Social Changery, and Lisa and her team have created an AR game called Decoded. It's like an escape room game where teens and young adults complete tasks and find themselves in situations where they're trying to escape, but it turns out they're being guided with decisions that are addressing peer pressure and other challenging situations. And it's like a fun way and a non-preachy way to teach them about substance abuse and prevention. That's tomorrow at noon Pacific time, right here, same place, same time. I hope you'll join me then. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you back here tomorrow. Have a great day.